What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and today we are back talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I'm pre-recording this. I'm recording this right after our preseason game against the Jets, so there might some of these roster decisions when I make my final 53 prediction might have already happened. I'm trying to pre-record this. It's my birthday weekend. I'm probably not going to be in the right mindset to record any videos this weekend, so that is what's going on with my life. So we're going to be doing a couple things here today. I'm going to give you my final 53-man roster predictions. We'll talk about the practice squad at the very end. I'll give you updated win-loss records to give us a final tally on where we're at. And I'll give some positional predictions, where I think the stats will be, any award winners, any disappointments. This is my fifth time recording this because every other time it's gone over 20 minutes. I don't want to hold you guys on that long. So let's get into it. First off, at the quarterbacks, here's what our quarterback room is going to look like. Carson Wentz, Nick Foles, and Nate Sudfeld. Now, I'm recording this, and I feel like this is Thursday. Friday, tomorrow, after this is already uploaded, they're going to make the announcement if Wentz is going to play week 1 or not. So that'll be, I'm not going to try to overstep my bounds on that. So, it's uncertain if Wentz is going to play. If we have to go Nick Foles, by all means. It looked like dog shit all preseason, but he was running vanilla plays. We didn't use any of the Doug Peterson, Nick Foles offense that we utilized to make Nick Foles so good during that playoff stretch. And pretty much talking about Nate Sudfeld, hey, we move on from Nick Foles next year. His salary comes off the books. We pretty much break even to be, starting at zero, because you look right now, Philly's like $20 million over the cap next year. Nate Sudfeld was one of the bright spots of the preseason. I think he's a very capable backup to Carson Wentz. Happy to have him. Some predictions for Carson Wentz on this season. I think if he misses up to 3 games, not ready to start week 1, 3,400 yards, 31 touchdowns, 9 picks. I think if he plays all 16, he'll be pushing 4,000 yards, 35 TDs, 9 touchdowns in the MVP race. But I don't know. Hope to God he's ready to play against Atlanta. Running backs. All right. Darren Sproles, Corey Clement, and I have Josh Adams tacking on the roster at RB4. It's a battle right now between him and Wendell Smallwood. And when I talk about the practice squads, maybe potential cuts from around the league, we'll refer back to this running back 4 spot. But I mean, these guys here are solid in Sproles more, so I think he's going to be a special teamer this year. Predictions, I don't think any of our running backs are going to break 1,000 yards, even though Jay's going to really want to because he's in a contract year. And I think bold prediction is Corey Clement is going to be RB1 at some point during this year. I think he'll take the spot from Jay. Wide receivers, Alshon Jeffery, Nelson Agholor, Mike Wallace, Mac Hollins, Shelton Gibson, who played very well throughout the preseason. I'm going DeAndre Carter. It's Bryce Tregg's face, but DeAndre Carter has emerged, I think, as the top slot depth behind Nelson Agholor, which was really my biggest worry about this wide receiver room, is we had no depth behind Agholor at that slot position. I think Carter has done more than enough to prove he's worth that. Plus, he gets some special teams ability. We're going to miss Alshon Jeffery for 2 weeks, which kind of sucks, kind of feels, kind of feeds the narrative when he's coming from Chicago that he's always hurt, but he did have a torn rotator cuff last year, played through it, was outstanding during the playoff push, which I know Bear fans don't really know what that's about, but it was really good. He kind of gets, if he has to take 2 weeks to get fully healthy, so be it. Wide receiver room is going to be pretty nice. Prediction for this is, in general, I think Nelson Agholor is going to be our only 1,000-yard receiver on the year, which is going to set himself up for a nice contract. Hopefully, it's with the Philadelphia Eagles next offseason. Looking at the tight end position, we're going Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, and Richard Rodgers. Now, this is kind of a hard sell right now because we don't know if Richard Rodgers is going to be healthy to start, so this could change a little bit. Lovato's here as the long snapper. He'll make it. But Ertz and Goedert, I think they're going to be animals this year, especially Goedert definitely needs to step up as that red zone big body guy while Alshon's out. My prediction for Ertz and Goedert is they will combine for 1,300 receiving yards, 15 TDs, and kind of shape up to maybe be the next best two-headed tight end attack since Aaron Hernandez. Do we say RIP for Aaron Hernandez? I don't know. But Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski in New England. Here's going to be our offensive line. We're going Jason Peters, Big V as our swing tackle, Jordan Mailata, who's debatably been like the most polarizing player in the preseason around the league, definitely for Philly. He's looked pretty damn good, man. I'm not ready to be like the next, if you look on Twitter, Brian Baldinger and some other guys that work for NFL saying this guy's going to be a future All-Pro. I don't know if I can commit to that yet, but I mean, it's about time one of these freaks that, we always see, Olympic athletes or, different sport athletes try to come to the NFL and never make it, like basketball players. It's about time one of them do make it. And why not be Mailata? He looks pretty goddamn impressive. Maybe we can get creative with him in the red zone as well. Wisniewski, Jason Kelsey, Siomalo, Brandon Brooks, Matt Pryor, and Lane Johnson round up the offensive line. Prediction for this group, number 1 rated offensive line for Pro Football Focus come season's end. Going to the defense, we got Brandon Graham, Chris Long, Josh Sweat, Michael Bennett, Derek Barnett, and Steven Means. I think prediction time, I think that no one's going to go over 10 sacks again. It seems like it's been quite some time. I feel like Jason Babbitt might have been the last Eagles defender that got 10 sacks. But I mean, it's a collective unit. They rotate so much. It is kind of difficult to get that. They're still going to be very, very dominant. But I will say maybe Michael Bennett kind of busts a little bit. I think that, his versatility is going to be nice for the Eagles. The fact that he can play inside and outside on the D-line. I just think when come next offseason, he's going to be a clear cut for the Philadelphia Eagles. Looking at D-tackle, we got to go Fletcher Cox. Timmy Jernigan's going to be on the PUP. We're going to miss him for 6 weeks. So our D-tackle depth opening week will be Cox, Nada, Vallejo, and Bruce Hector. I will say pretty much Fletcher Cox, my prediction on him is he's going to finish on the Defensive Player of the Year short list. It's going to be very tough for him to win it, but I think they usually narrow it down to 5. He will be on that 5. He will be first-team All-Pro. And looking at the rest of it, man, this Bruce Hector guy, all I saw was he was an undrafted free agent, and we paid him a lot of money. He's one of the most expensive undrafted free agents in the league. And he has stood out more than Vallejo and more than Nata on the defensive line. So it's going to be interesting to see how Jim Schwartz decides to use him. Linebacking core, we're going to miss Nigel Bradham for 1 week. So it's going to be Leroy Reynolds, Jordan Hicks, Joe Walker, Nate Jerry, and Camus Grugier-Hill. Yikes. Weakest group on the team by a long shot. I'm pretty worried, especially week 1 against Atlanta. I can already have nightmares right now. Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman catching passes out the backfield and just abusing our linebackers. My prediction for the linebacking core, however, is Jordan Hicks leads the team in tackles and he stays healthy and sets him up for a nice little contract extension with the Philadelphia Eagles next offseason as the future leader of our defense as well. He's the cowboy killer, man. Looking at the secondary, start with the corners. We're going Darby, Jalen Mills, Sidney Jones, Rasul Douglas, Avonte Maddox, and I'm going Chandon Sullivan. I know a lot of Eagles beat reporters have Devontae Bosby. He's so bad at tackling, and I don't think if you can't be bad at tackling in a Jim Schwartz defense. Bosby makes Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie look like friggin' Troy Polamalu. The Sullivan guy, however, has looked pretty good. Good ball skills, good lockdown corners, graded it well from Pro Football Focus in the preseason. Stick him on the roster. Looking at the safeties, we're going Rodney McLeod, Corey Graham, Chris Maragos, and Malcolm Jenkins and Jeremy Reeves. Maragos is going to start probably on the PUP, miss some time. Jeremy Reeves is pretty much a battle between him and Trey Sullivan for the final safety spot. I think Reeves just has a little bit more upside. He was a really, really big hitter throughout the preseason too. Had a couple highlight hits. This is not really him too. I just changed the name. I think the summary for the secondary, I think the cornerbacks will now be looked upon as one of our stronger groups. Last year coming in, we had no idea who our starters are going to be. And even though the future is kind of unclear with Ronald Darby, if he's going to be on this team long term, I think when all said and done after this season, we're all going to feel pretty happy about our cornerbacks. But the inverse about our safeties. I think at the end of the year, we're going to be like, man, we might have to think about long term with our safeties. I'm not saying Malcolm Jenkins is going to be dog shit, but I think he might take a step back. I definitely think Rodney McLeod is going to take a step back. And I think this is going to be one of the bigger positions that we think, like, maybe we should draft one. Maybe look at a Jaquan Johnson from Miami as one of our high-round draft picks. Or maybe we look at moving a Jalen Mills or a Zul Douglas back into the safety spot. So the one negative I feel about the Eagles' defense in particular is the regression of the safeties. Hope it doesn't happen, though. So that is my final 53 predictions. And, a couple just individual predictions for the Philadelphia Eagles. If you agree or disagree with that, let me know in the comments. Practice squad, just really quickly. I currently have it as Donnell Pumphrey, Greg Ward, Rashard Davis, Toby Weathersby on the offensive side, Devontae Bosby, Joe Osman, Elijah Qualls, Aziz Shitu, and Trey Sullivan on the defensive side. And I kind of had 4 names from around the league that maybe could be on the bubble, could get cut, that I'd like to see Philly bring in. You have Jeff Holland, a defensive end from Denver, Chase Litton, quarterback, Kansas City, Byron Pringle, wide receiver, Kansas City, and the big one that I was kind of talking about with that running back 4 spot with Josh Adams, Chris Warren in Oakland. He might be on the bubble there, even though he's probably been one of the better running backs in the league right now in this preseason, but he's a 250-pound power back machine. And I think when you look at the Eagles running back core, we don't have that. That's the one element of this core that we're missing. We have Ajay, who's kind of like a do-it-all. We have Clement, who's more of a receiving back. Sproles receiving back. Josh Adams, I don't think he's like that exact power back that you want. I think a guy like Chris Warren could add that element in the red zone for this offense. And if he gets cut, I'd like to take a shot. So that is my roster predictions. Let's end this video with the updated record predictions. We're opening up week 1 against Atlanta. Now, I'll say at the beginning, I think Philly could go 16-0. I give them a 95% chance of not going 16-0, but I still think they are good enough, top to bottom, that they can make a run if they stay healthy if Carson Wentz starts the season. That being said, with everything going into this Falcons game, the stadium's going to be rocking. We're lifting the banner. It's probably one of the best atmospheres ever. I'm opening up with a loss. I don't. Hopefully Carson Wentz is playing. I'll tell you right now, if Carson Wentz is playing and we find that out before you guys see this video on Sunday, if Wentz is playing, Philly's beating the Falcons. Tell you that right now. Even though it's going to be really, really tough, especially with Bradham missing the game. And I think the Falcons are going to try to exploit that with passes at the backfield to the running backs. Going on the assumption that Wentz isn't playing, I'm saying that's an L. I think the Falcons are a playoff-ready team. And like I said, I'm really worried about the other running backs going up against our weak linebacking core. So we're going to open up with a lot there. We got the Bucks week 2. That's a dub. They got Fitzpatrick. It's dub. Even though we don't have Alshon Jeffery, it's a dub. We're going to beat the Bucks. Make up for that NFC Championship loss back in, what was it, 03? Something like that, 04 or 05. Whenever the Bucks beat the Raiders. Week 3, we have the Colts. So Frank Reich comes back in town. That's a dub. Colts transitioning on defense. I think Philly's going to be able to kind of tear them apart there. Then we have the Tennessee Titans. I think that's going to be a competitive matchup, but I think the biggest thing for me is the Titans offense kind of plays into what the Eagles defense is best at. The Eagles, if you have a power back, more often than not, they're going to shut you down all game long. So unless Deion Lewis can carry this team to a victory, I think Philly's going to be able to get the dub here in Tennessee, but that's a pretty good matchup. Then we have the Minnesota Vikings, which I think most Viking fans, for the saltiest fan base ever, this is going to be like their Super Bowl, trying to get revenge on the Eagles. And I got bad news for you. Philly's going to beat them. I think a fully healthy Eagles team going up against a fully healthy Vikings team, we're going to hypothetically say that's the scenario here. Eagles win that game 7 times out of 10. I already can hear the dislikes. God, man, the Vikings fans are so salty. Moving up, we got the Giants. We're going to beat the Giants. We're going to sweep the Giants this year. Giants transitioning on defense. Still a dog shit offensive line. That's a dub. We got the Carolina Panthers up next. I think it'll be a competitive matchup, but for whatever reason, it seems more often than not the Eagles do have the Panthers number. Cam Newton struggles a little bit against Philly, so we'll take that dub. Then we got the Jacksonville Jaguars in London. I'm going to say this is going to be a loss. Now, I think Blake Bortles could definitely cost the Jags to win here, but just for Philly traveling all the way to London, it's going to be just a big, difference, time change, all that stuff. The Jags have a really good defense. They definitely could win this game, but let's be honest, they're not knowing and understanding they're probably not going to win every single game. Like probable losses, not guaranteed losses, not losses that I think most likely would happen, but just a probable potential loss. I mean, that kind of contradicts itself. We'll just say potential loss. I definitely will chalk this Jaguars game up to that right now. Then we play the Dallas Cowboys. That's a dub. Cowboys are going to be shit this year. We play the Saints. That's going to be a loss. I think it's going to be one of those games where the running, Mark Ingram's back, and then the Kamara Ingram two-head attack is taking the league by storm. So we go in the game saying, yes, our run defense can stop them. And then, oh, yeah, here comes Drew Brees. He'll throw over 400 yards and make our defense look like dog shit. Then we play the Giants again. Game 2 against the Giants. Gonna have to go say that's another win. I just think the Giants on the defensive side in particular, switching from a 4-3 to a 3-4, it's tough. And Philly's just gonna pick them apart, man. They're gonna pick them apart. Then we got the Redskins, game 1 against the Redskins. I like both of our matchups against the Redskins. Redskins have caused the Philadelphia Eagles headaches in years past, but I think Doug Peterson will feel confident about scheming against Alex Smith. He knows Alex Smith inside out, so I think that definitely works into our favor. Then we have the second game against Dallas. Cowboy fans, I said your team was trash, but I'll give you one win. I think Eagles and Dallas are going to go 1-1, and we'll say Zeke Elliott carries you guys to a win. Maybe this will be like the one game that Jordan Hicks is out for injury, because I'm still maybe skeptical that Jordan Hicks will play a full 16 games. Then after that, we have the Rams, and I think this game's going to be personal for Doug Pearson. I think, even though he won't admit it, I think Doug Pearson's a little pissed off he didn't win Coach of the Year, so he's going to want to try to show he is a superior coach in the league. And he's going to try to flex on McVay, that little pre-pubescent boy. I think this more so. I think the changing point in this game is Philadelphia's D-line is going to dominate the Cowboys, or the Cowboys, but the Philadelphia D-line is going to dominate the Rams' offensive line and make it a very tough game for both Todd Gurley and Jared Goff. Then we play the Houston Texans. I'm going to say this is going to be a loss just because, for whatever reason, against mobile quarterbacks, like good mobile quarterbacks, Philadelphia's edge rushers always look like Bambi on ice. And I can see Deshaun Watson just making enough plays for the Texans to squeak that one out. And then we finish up the year against the Washington Redskins, and I think it's going to be a sweep. Again, more so, I think Doug Peterson is going to have perfect game plans on how to stop Alex Smith and a Redskins team that's really trying to find their identity. So that gives the Philadelphia Eagles a final record of 11-5, which I think, understanding that their depth and we're still top to bottom on the best rosters, I think 11-5 is not too biased of a record for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think we get first round bye, and I don't think we'll be the number 1 seed this year. I think we'll be the number 2 seed. We won't get home field throughout the playoffs, but we'll get that first round bye. I think that's not too bad for a team that's trying to compete. We can't all be fans of teams in the AFC where it's just a cupcake if you're a Patriot fan, or NFC's a dogfight every year, and I think Philly, still with the very, very difficult schedule, still with the injuries, are going to be 11-5 and get that bye. So that is my full predictions for the Philadelphia Eagles. Midweek, we will do a hype video for the Atlanta Falcons game, so definitely tune back in for that. If you agree or disagree, Eagle fan or not, with anything I said in this video, feel free to open up a discussion in the comment section below. If it's your first time stopping by, you're an Eagles fan, make sure you subscribe. Lots of Eagles content coming throughout the year. And that'll do it for me today, guys. Thank you for watching. I'm enjoying my B-Day weekend. I hope you guys are enjoying the college football. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.